Hi, I'm Ruben Saltzman with Structure Tech Home Inspections, and today I'm answering a frequently asked question: what does structural mean when it comes to a home inspection? So with a name like Structure Tech, of course people got structural questions for us. Yes, structural and the inspection of the structure is one of the most critical, most important parts of any home inspection. But if you look at home inspection standards of practice, you look at ASHI or InterNACHI, they're not very clear on what it means. It just says the home inspector needs to inspect the structural components of a house. They don't get into a whole lot of details. So we got people asking us, what exactly do you do? So let me try to give a good answer today. It all starts at the bottom of the building. We think about the building's transfer to the ground, the soils. And we think about the soils that are supporting the building. Now, from a home inspection perspective, we're not doing geotechnical soil evaluations and testing what type of material is this and what's the load bearing capacity. That goes way beyond the scope of a home inspection. What we do is think about water management. Is water being carried away from the building properly? Are we giving those soils the best chance to properly support the structure? So we're thinking about water coming down, hitting the roof. We're thinking about gutters, downspouts, downspout extensions. We're thinking about ground sloping away from the property. Think about all these different things to help make sure that that property has a good chance to not go anywhere. So that's the first thing, is looking at the soils. Next would be the footings themselves. That's part of the structure. And for a Minnesota home, I was gonna say never. I'll say never. We never get to see the footings. The footings are buried. It's all below the dirt. We don't get to look at any of that. So footings are kind of outside the scope of the home inspection because they're buried. However, we do look at the foundation walls. That's another big part of it. Now, if you've got a problem with the footing, then it's going to transfer to the foundation walls, and that's where we end up seeing cracks in the foundation. We can see offsets. All kinds of issues can show up in the foundation walls. So even though we can't see the footings, we're certainly concerned about how well they're performing, and there's a lot of clues for us. And as far as those foundation walls go, in Minnesota, the newest houses are typically going to have poured concrete foundation walls. If we see tiny little hairline cracks on a house that's 20 years old, no big deal. If we see a 1/4 inch crack, we're concerned about that. If it's a concrete block foundation wall, that's kind of what they used before they started getting really serious about using poured concrete. We'd have a lot of concrete block walls. We're looking at cracks in those. Cracks can be fairly larger relative to poured concrete. And then for the really old houses, a lot of the time, we would have stacked stone foundations where they stack all these stones and they fill in all this mortar, and those walls are a lot thicker. We're looking at those too. Those are all parts of the foundation walls. And then we're also thinking about the center support structure of the house. How's the middle of the house held up? Typically, it's going to be posts and beams, where either you've got some wood posts and you've got wood beams, or maybe you've got steel posts and steel beams, or a combination of the two. So we're looking at the posts and beams, or sometimes you're going to have a center load-bearing wall constructed of typically 2x6s. Older houses, you might even have 2x4s. But we're looking at all of these different things that support the middle of the house. That's definitely a part of the home inspection. Now, if you have a finished basement, if those foundation walls are hidden, you can't see any of it, you can't see any of it. There's nothing we can do about that. We look at what we can at the outside, but we are inspecting all of those visible components. One little asterisk that I need to mention, something that's not structural for pretty much every Minnesota home that has a basement, is the slab, the concrete that sits on the floor, the basement floor. That's not structural. The whole house gets built, all the support gets put in there, and then they pour the floor later on. It's not part of the structure. People tend to freak out about cracks in the basement floor and little offsets. For a Minnesota home, typically it's irrelevant. The only thing we care about with those, number one, is radon gas coming in. Number two, could we have a trip hazard? That's about it. The rest of it, it's cosmetic. Although people do freak out about those cracks. Okay, so that's the foundation. We've talked about soils. Next would be the floor framing. And for that, it's typically going to be wood framing. We're looking at the floor structure. And if you have an unfinished basement, there's a ton of stuff that we can see. If the basement is almost completely finished, there's not much we can see. All we can do is look at the visible portions of it. But on the first floor and the second floor, the rest of the areas, we can still look for levelness of the floor. If you're buying an older home, it's typical for floors to slope. We definitely note that in our reports. In most cases, it's not a big concern, but not all. And of course we inspect the walls, but again, most of the walls are covered and finished. So we look at all the visible components there, and then finally, we're looking at the roof structure. And that gets evaluated from the attic space. We access as much of the attic as we possibly can, and it also gets inspected from the roof. We're looking at the roof lines. We're checking to make sure that everything is plumb and level and straight, and we don't have big dips and sags in the roof covering. That's all part of the inspection of the roof structure. So all of these different things make up the inspection of the structure. That's what we're looking at. And just a quick little word, there's two things I want to bring up while we're talking about all this. Number one is home inspectors' use of the word monitor. A lot of the time when home inspectors see adverse conditions, bad stuff, I should say, or things that could be bad things, they like to say, have it monitored. I don't like that term, for the most part. Most of the time, a lot of the time, you'll have home inspectors just sprinkle this like seasoning all throughout their report as a way to maybe kind of cover their butt, but it really gives their client useless information. However, there is a place for it, and I'd say it's when we find little cracks in foundation walls. Things that are probably inconsequential, things that aren't that big of a deal. Sometimes we'll tell our clients to patch them, maybe with a concrete product, and monitor the crack for future movement. And also, if repairs have been done to a foundation. The stuff that we don't get to find out as home inspectors is what caused these cracks, and how long ago did it happen, and what has been done to prevent the cracks from getting worse, and what was done to repair it. What's all the history here? We don't get to know any of that stuff. All we get to do is see what's there today. So sometimes it is the best course of action to just say, have it monitored. In some cases, in fact, most of the time when we find little hairline cracks in foundation walls, we tell people it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes we say it needs to be monitored. Sometimes we say they need to be repaired. And every once in a while, it's not frequent, but sometimes we need to call for further inspection. That's another one that we got to use very sparingly. I know I've talked about this in the past on my YouTube channel and on my blog and on our podcast. I hate it when home inspectors make tons of recommendations for further inspection because, after all, isn't that what you're paying the home inspector to do? To inspect it and give you a professional opinion? But there are some instances where a home inspector does well to make a further inspection recommendation because it's kind of a gray area. It's a big enough crack to where we're not comfortable saying this is minor, but it's not so big where we say it definitely needs repair. Sometimes it does make sense to get a structural engineer to give another opinion on something, but those recommendations need to be made sparingly. Okay, had to get on my soapbox on that one little topic for a quick second, but I hope I answered your question. This is what the structural components of a home inspection consist of. I'm Ruben Saltzman with Structure Tech Home Inspections. Thanks for watching. Take care.